Rekkles getting a pentakill for Fnatic in this moment. Oh my word, this is crazy. Wow, we're in his home country, but he doesn't say any of that. He just says we're in Sweden. Hi everyone, my name is Vedius and welcome to another episode of Ultimate List. Today we're going to be going through some legendary LEC and EU LCS plays that have been submitted by you, the fans, and I'm going to rank them. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it.
It's going to be Alternate possibly starting it off. We're going to see the teleport though. They're going in towards LoL. They're going to put a lot of damage down on towards it. Paranoia back on towards Extermin. It is very, very brave. It's going to be Paranoia that's going to pay for it with his life. He goes down. There's going to be Ultimate. It's a great Ultimate. J-Re gets caught down. Shockwave catches all 5 members of Giants there. Beautifully done. Jimbo's gets dropped. He's going to respawn. He's going to turn back around. He's firing off the arrows just like you can. Eleanor picks up the double kill. He's still in this one. He's going to turn it back around. It's a triple kill for Eleanor. Samox now is going to have Creator coming in. Another ball goes in. Will he be able to take it down? Creator picks up the kill. And that was a 4 for 3 to Alternate.
So the reason why it was called the 3K ELO Shockwave was because Pharrell Lord at the time, back in the day, Season 1, Season 2, you had ELO in League. And Pharrell Lord was the highest rated player on the EU servers. He was like one of the first people ever to get 3,000 ELO, which would be the equivalent right now of like, I don't know, rank 1 challenger, I guess. But he landed this Shockwave onto all 5 people. And then there was the beautiful ultimate from Rumble, from Kerp as well. Oh man, this is just incredibly nostalgic. It's incredibly potent. And like what's amazing about it is you can still do it today. Man, this is insane. Wait, okay. How do I rank this? How do I rank this? This is like, I need in typical LEC fashion, okay? This is going to be like legacy, okay? This is a legacy play. Really up there, really insane, really good. Like, you know, it'd be like S tier. It's like legacy tier, okay? It's not quite king tier, you know, the top tier, but it's legacy tier. Man, that's amazing. That was a great play.
With interest.
It's their game.
And the problem is that whilst here it was able... Oh!
That's the dredge line. The enchanted crystal arrow comes out, but nobody's dead yet. Oh, no Womne, your Gwen. Snip, snip, snip. Needlework doing the job. Vito gets out of range of the Syndra ultimate by some time. Manages to trade his life 1 for 1. The Meganar comes back as a stopwatch comes out. Here it's going low, less than 1,000. He's taken out. Inspired needs the resets to break the hearts of all Misfits fans, but Kobe stays alive. The shield bow keeps him up.
He's dead.
Finally goes down. Inspired's got the reset. It's a 2v1. Looking for another. Razork's in so much trouble. Inspired with the blade of the Ruined King. Viego shuts down Misfits for the ace. The pentakill. And 9 members on the Rift are dead.
This made people so mad. Because Razork ran out of mana and Wonder ran out of mana. They couldn't do anything left. What was crazy about that play was, for all intent and purposes, Rogue should have lost this game. Like, Rogue was so close to losing this game and this series. And, like, there were so many fights that literally could have swung either way. And, like, that pentakill was, like, so insanely clutch. And, like, don't get me wrong, he plays this incredibly well. Like, you've got to keep track of, like, he does so many things. Their focus is to kill Vedius here, right? So they just want to stop him from actually running away with the game. And then he turns into the Akali, which for the record dodges the ultimate from Hirit. He then uses the E into Q, reset, gets that kill onto Gnar, resets into the Gnar. Then he creates space between him and the opposition, starts chipping away at Kobe, procs all the 3 passives of the Gnar, right? So he gets 1, 2, 3, then uses the heart. Well, I think it's Heartbreaker. I call it the R. Right, and then he gets incredibly low, gets the reset off just so that he can get the kill. And then when he comes back alive, Razork's like, this is a kill. Vanda's like, this is a kill. And then he gets the shield bow, which keeps him alive, which protects him from the damn Infernal Soul. Like, it was incredibly well played, but so many things went in his favor as well that, like, I remember so many people being so mad. I thought it was insane. He played incredibly well. So that one, not as effective as Legacy, like, but that did begin the dynasty, I would say, of Inspired, you know, before he then, you know, left and played somewhere else. So he can be below Legacy tier, okay? So that's like, you know, he's not S tier, he's like A-ish tier. It was still mechanically very, very good. But you know, it's not quite at that legacy tier. So he's just a dynasty tier for now. We'll see if any players can reach that king tier, which is the very top.
He manages to juke away from the Varus ulti, but they've got a 5v4 and he goes back in. It's going to be a bunch of damage on the Genja. Froggen in the middle finds the loot ult as well. There's the unstoppable force used on the Genja, but he does not go down. Froggen's really under pressure. Legendary Alex Itch finds 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it going to be 5? I can't actually tell. Everyone is dead, and it is. It's a pentakill. Pentakill for Alex Itch, and that's a good way to do it. Just playing leapfrog onto that one.
Where is he? There he is. Look at him. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. Oh my god. He's so good, man. He's so good. Fans, you guys are such great clips. This is so sick. Alex Itch is, I mean, he's a legend. He's an absolute legend in EU's history. Like, throughout Europe's history, we've had like legacy mid laners, and they've always been like dominated by like the top 3. And the original trio back in the day was Peke, Froggen, and Alex Itch. And Alex Itch, one of his signature champions was this Kha'zix mid. Yes, you could play that champion in the mid lane back in the day. He was actually a very strong mid laner for a very strong time, but this was one of his signature picks, and he was just really good at it. It's so good, man. I mean, this has to go in legacy tier, right? There's no shot that it's not in legacy tier. Like, I would argue that maybe it could go into like the king tier, which is the top tier. But it's not there yet. I feel like this is a great play, very nostalgic, very good, like definitely up there. Incredible play from Alex. Oh, I miss Alex. Very, very, very talented player. I think that what made Gambit and formerly Moscow 5 so legendary was the fact that they kind of just, they broke the game. Which maybe to many of you is a weird thing to like think about, but they were one of the early innovators of counter jungling. And on top of that, Moscow 5, like they were constantly innovating in terms of their itemization. There was Genja with his wacky builds on things like Kog'Maw, and like people used to call him the Time Lord because he would come up with builds that later down the line made sense. Like I think Kog'Maw with Trinity Force was something that he was playing originally, and then everyone thought it was ridiculous. And then like a couple years later, that became like the meta build on Kog'Maw. And there are a bunch of other examples of him doing random stuff like that as well. There's Swag Lord Darien. There was the Thresh King of Edwards. And what was also crazy was that they were just so good against Korean teams. Like there was this one tournament, I think it was in an IEM, where they beat both CJ Entus Frost and Blaze. And like it was crazy that they like went back to back, especially when they were knocked down into like a losers bracket. This team was just so incredible. It's mind blowing that they never won a split. Fnatic was always their kryptonite. They always came incredibly close, but they could never actually beat Fnatic. But like this was probably the most beloved and most successful team. And like in season 2, many people touted them as favorites to win the whole thing. The fact that they were upset by TPA was shocking to many. But I think that there was a really good chance that Gambit could have been world champions in season 2 had TPA, you know, not been a thing.
Here we go. Baron going, the double mountains are the target. That's G2 pushing mid. They're round warping in. G2 are going in the base. The power buff though. They can get the recalls. How many can they stop? G2, you gotta stop them all. They're in the base. G2 are looking for the win. Can they pull it off? The round warp. Once again, the Rekkles goes out. They wait. The Nexus. No way! The Nexus towers at the bottom side. G2 get the first one, but Rekkles and LSA get in the back door. Oh my god! No! Flipping way!
I was trying to... Yeah, so the craziest thing about this, okay? So, this in the bottom left is what you need to pay attention to. 5 seconds on the inhibitor timer. 5 seconds. That was the thing that was actually blowing my mind, because that's what I was trying to keep track of. I think before... Yeah, so while this play was happening, I was looking at the minimap, and then I was looking at these inhibitor timers during this play, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh my god, they've got 20 seconds. And then G2 have, like, they have more time, but I was like, do they have a minion wave? That was pathetic. He definitely wanted to say a different word there, I can tell you right now. No, that was a sick play. That was awesome. I think this was the split where Fnatic went 11-7, I think. And, like, they were really in a contentious spot. And it was looking kind of shaky about whether or not they would actually make it to playoffs, I think. And then they went on this crazy win streak where I think they ended up going 11-7. And then I think G2 ended 14-4. But that was a crazy game. It was hilariously back and forth. And yeah, it was like, look, when, I mean, the Nexus is like, it was dead beforehand, but he got the kill when it was 5 seconds, but like it was a knife's edge. It was literally a knife's edge. But this game had everything. The Zed mid, the Cassio bot from Perks. It was Rekkles on Lucian, something you don't get to see very often. We had Brox's Kha'zix, which was like a massive nuisance. This was like an incredibly good play. I think this will actually be my first King tier. I think this is going to be King tier. Okay, mainly because, well, Vedius casting it, so you've got the best casting duo in the world. And also just like everything about this game and everything like leading up to this point was just like such a monumental moment in like recent LEC history. And the fact that it was G2 versus Fnatic, it was just like, you know, it was peak King gameplay. You know what I mean? So it was, yeah, that was good. That was really, really good. Big fan. Big fan. I mean, it's iconic for the wrong reasons, but Origin versus Roccat was a best of 3 back in 2017. And it was like one of the longest, most boring and worst series of all time. Oh man, it was so funny. Like, so many people were invested because like Origin was on this unbelievable losing streak, and at least I'm pretty sure it was Roccat at the time. Roccat were just bad, and so you had like 2 of the worst teams in the league playing against the best of 3, and it was just everything that you expected. It was just ridiculous. Like, it was slow, it was crazy, it was, yeah, it was, I mean, that was, yeah, it's crazy that was one of the most iconic games for me. But like, you can pick any G2 versus Fnatic game, really. They're like, there's a great trailer that we made. I forget what year it came out, and I'm really sad. But basically, like, our editors, they did an incredible job. They basically, like, the start of the video is a cut together of all these different Fnatic versus G2 moments, and like the camera pans over different parts of the Summoner's Rift map, and you'll get like a look back at a moment that has happened between G2 and Fnatic in that part of the map. And it was crazy how they kind of went all over the map, from like Baron to the top red buff to the mid lane to inhibitors to the bot lane. Like, they just kind of panned over everywhere, and you had all of these unbelievably crazy moments that happened between G2 and Fnatic. It's such a good trailer, but like, it really encapsulates how like any G2 versus Fnatic game is guaranteed to give you a memorable experience at the very least.
The tower alive, Rainover was in trouble. There goes Yellowstar, another taunt. Hoodie's looking for Miffy. Wild Growth will slow them down. Glitterlance connects as well. And Rekkles plus that's a kill to Rekkles rather. That's a double. He's looking for more. That's a triple. He's looking for 4. That's the quadra. He will get it. The reset forward. Looking for a pentakill. We're in Sweden. The Swedish gets a pentakill.
We're in Sweden. So what made this iconic was Trevor's "We're in Sweden" line, because ever since then, casters have always wanted to emulate it. Because in that moment, like, from a caster's perspective, you got to think about like, what do you say in that moment, right? Like, because this is a defining moment that's really important to your career. And one of the things that everyone is it's just so fun. We're in Sweden. It's like, okay, Trev, why does that matter? And obviously the context is Rekkles is from Sweden. They were in his home, right? He was like playing in front of his home crowd, and that was kind of the significance that he was trying to get across in that moment, you know? Yeah, so we meme him all the time for this call, but we've all got our memeable calls. But yeah, this is a great play. Obviously, like, this is one of the big things that cemented Rekkles. I think still to this day, he has the most pentakills of any LEC player in LEC history. At 6. I think the closest one is actually Comp, who's sitting at 4 right now. So hot on his heels. But yeah, it's a cool play. It's not one of my favorite plays. Like, I think that the casting is actually what makes it more iconic for me personally than necessarily the play itself. I know for a lot of fans, this is a really big deal and a really big moment. But it wouldn't be a tier list if I didn't, you know, put like good cringe somewhere. So we're just going to chuck good cringe, you know. And, you know, because like, it was kind of, you know, it was a good play, but, you know, Trevor's casting was a little bit cringe. So we're just going to chuck that in there. I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite play of all time, because I've cast so many LEC games now. But I will say that in my casting career, I've had... So I joined when Mickey joined, but I've actually been a part of like every single significant moment that Perks has had. Aside from his very first split. I was there for like every time that Perkz was able to win something. And for me, one of the most significant moments was actually seeing him beat T1 in 2019 MSI. I got to cast that game, and him bringing out the Yasuo in game 4, and the fact that he was the one at the very end that eventually killed Faker. I don't know, that moment like really resonates with me, and that was like a pretty significant moment, just because like it's a big honor as a caster to get to cast those significant moments, but especially following Perkz' career, because when he started at MSI, he was a player that I mean, a lot of people got angry at. People thought that he was way too overconfident. People thought that he wouldn't ever really be able to compete on the international stage. And then for 2016, 2017, he just couldn't really prove himself internationally. I mean, 2017 MSI, he started to get recognized because of his performance on his Fizz, and he did actually have a best of 5 against Faker, where he ended up falling short, but he was able to solo kill him, and that's kind of where we got to see the first glimmer of what Perkz could be. But then 2018 with his LeBlanc, and then finally getting to see him beat one of the kind of like demons that plagued him, was a pretty significant moment for me. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorite moments. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Ultimate List. I hope you've enjoyed going back and looking through some of the legendary plays that the LEC has had throughout its many years of wonderful League of Legends. My name has been Vedius. I want to know what you think of the plays and how you think of my list. Was it good cringe? Was it king tier? Was it legacy tier? Let me know in the comments below. But until the next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in another one.